Part 2, we will focus on the methods of characterization. These methods include physical appearance, other characters, thought, speech, and action, and narrator's comments. When an author creates a character and uses descriptions to get the reader to know them better, it's called characterization. When an author wants you to think a character has a certain trait, they'll use different techniques to show you them. We're going to go over 4 different techniques that authors use to try to get you to understand who their character is and to paint a different picture of them. What I want you to do on your notes, I want you to split your notes into 4 sections. In one corner, I want you to write thoughts, speech, and action. In the next corner, I want you to write narrator's comments. In the bottom section, I'd like you to write other characters. And in the right-hand lower section, I'd like you to write physical appearance. Now, even though these notes were handed out during class, it's nice to sometimes write these things down to try to trigger your memory or to get your brain to recall what you've written. So you can either refer back to your notes or write them all over again. But today we're going to really focus on asking questions to help us understand who our characters are. So we're going to look at different questions that you would ask. So we're going to start with physical appearance. When I want to know what a character looks like, I might ask the question, what does a character look like? What are his or her facial expressions showing me? What's their body language telling me in a story or a movie? So I'm definitely going to look at their appearance and how their mannerisms and body language are showing me how they feel or what they're thinking. Then we're going to focus on other characters. That's over here. So other characters will oftentimes give us a preview or their opinion of the main character. So while we're listening to the dialogue of other characters, we should be asking ourselves, what do other characters think and say about the character? And how do they treat him or her? Do they treat them poorly? Do they take care of them? That will reveal a lot about the main character that we're thinking of. Then we're going to talk about thoughts, speech, and action. This is probably the most common way that authors reveal information about their character. So we're going to always ask the 3 words, think, say, do. What does a character think throughout a story? What do they say or what do they do? How does he or she treat others? And what kind of things are important to him? What do they value? This section is going to reveal the most about characters. And finally, we're going to focus on narrator's comments. Oftentimes, the narrator is going to reveal information about the character that really tells us more about them. And we're going to ask, what does the narrator say about the character? And definitely, does the narrator respect or criticize him or her? That will tell us whether or not the narrator has a high opinion or a low opinion of the character. What we're going to do is we're going to focus on one story for the next 4 examples. So we're going to focus on the Hunger Games, and during our time while understanding the story of the Hunger Games, we're going to give different ways in which the author paints a picture of Katniss and makes her come to life. So many readers know that Katniss Everdeen is tough, she's not so friendly character. We often don't think about how the author created a character that was both rough around the edges, yet adored by the people that read her. When reading The Hunger Games, there are times where the reader is discovering these character traits thanks to the author's words. Here are some ways in which the author gives readers information about Katniss. First, we're going to start with physical appearance. Physical appearance is a great way to learn about a character. Remember, we're asking questions like, what does Katniss look like? What do her facial expressions reveal about her? We know that a character trait that describes Katniss is calm and cool. In the opening ceremony scene, Katniss is dressed in an iconic flame suit that captures the audience's attention. What's interesting about this scene is that her facial expression is very cool, kind of neutral, almost like a stone, and she keeps it straight faced. And the reason why she keeps it straight faced instead of being scared or intimidated or is that because she doesn't want the audience and especially her competitors to know that she's scared. So because she does that with her face, we know that she's actually really calm and cool, or at least trying to make us believe that she's calm and cool. If you want to see that scene, it's about 3 minutes long. I've put a link up here so you can see Katniss's expression through the opening ceremony scene. The next characterization type we're going to talk about is what other characters think of our main character. Another way we learn about a character is through the opinions of other characters. We learn about what President Snow thinks about Katniss in our scene where in Catching Fire, where President Snow pays a visit to Katniss at her house. He thinks Katniss is a threat to Panem. Basically, because of her choice to eat the poison berries, he thinks that she's encouraged rebellions around Panem, and different districts are rebelling. He confronts her to let her know that if he finds out that she's encouraging the rebellion, that he will kill her and kill all of her family. So he definitely sees her as a threat, and you can definitely tell based on this scene with President Snow. One of the most common examples of authors describing characters for a reader is through the character's own thoughts, speech, and action. The things a character thinks, says, or does reveal a lot about that character. So in this scene, when Rue is killed by one of the other tribunes, we can see that Katniss actually has a very soft and caring side that she does not reveal very often. She cared a lot for Rue, and when Rue was killed, she held Rue as she was slipping away and she sang her a lullaby to calm her as she passed. You can see that there are tears in her eyes, and when Rue finally passes, one of the actions that Katniss takes is she places flowers around her body to know that to kind of symbolize her care for her and her care for any victim of the Hunger Games. So, because of her action of taking care of Rue, we see that she's actually a very thoughtful and caring person. Lastly, we can learn a lot about a character directly from the narrator. The narrator will often reveal information about a character that not many people know. The narrator will also share their own thoughts and feelings of the main character by highlighting information that shapes the character's personality. This one is a tricky one because many books are written first person. The narrator and the main character are the same. It is difficult to determine the difference between narrator's comments and thoughts of a character. However, if the story is written in third person, we can learn the opinion of the narrator. If The Hunger Games had been written in third person, we may have learned that the narrator respects Katniss's bravery and selflessness. When her sister Prim gets chosen to participate in the Hunger Games, Katniss volunteers as tribune to save her sister. You can see that right here. And again, if this was written in third person point of view, the narrator might say, Katniss volunteered for her sister. Katniss showed that she would sacrifice her own life to make sure that Prim was safe. Even though Katniss was scared, she acted selfless to protect her sister. Thanks to these methods of characterization, we know that Katniss is a calm and cool young woman, one who is a threat to the current society she's trapped in. She's caring and thoughtful, and looking out for those who are wronged by the Hunger Games. She is brave and selfless, and she puts loved ones before herself. What I want you to do now is look over your notes and make sure that you have included notes on major and minor characters, dynamic and static characters, in all four methods of characterization.